Thomas Green here with Ethical Marketing Service. On the podcast today, we have Ian Moyse. Ian, welcome.
Thank you, and appreciate the invite to join you today.
That's no problem. Thank you for attending. Would you like to take a moment and tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Sure. So I am a sales leader in the technology sector, more precisely the cloud computing area, the piece that powers all the wondrous stuff we're seeing today, from smartphones to applications to Netflix and all that type of thing. So a pretty important part of our everyday lives, particularly in COVID remote times. I do guesting and speaking and guest speaking on this. So I talk on subjects of cloud computing technology and sales leadership, driving business growth and success. And I've been involved in 7 now smaller firms, startup smaller firms, and taking 4 through to exit as the sales leader. So hopefully I've got some good experience of the good, the bad, and the challenges that can give some insight today.
That's a good introduction. Thank you. Although the topic of discussion, or the proposed one, is personal branding. Happy to talk about that today?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very pertinent in the world that we're now in. Absolutely.
Well, that kind of touches upon one thing, and that is why is it that you think it is popular at the moment, and how would you define it?
Sure. So a lot of people, when you say personal branding, and I fell into this, let's start from there maybe. I didn't set out, oh, let's build a personal brand that sounds all illustrious and celebrity-like, right? I fell into it because in doing a sales role, I fell into, well, it's got harder and harder to engage prospective clients. It just has. And even more so in the world that we're now in. The customer, we are the customer, Thomas. Me and you are customers of different things, right? We all are customers. And we all behave differently than we did 10 years ago. We've got more information at our fingertips. So why do I need to talk to someone or be sold to? I can figure it out myself. I can assimilate information. I can find everything about you, Thomas. I can find everything about your business, reviews online, Trustpilot, all these different things. I've got so many data points. Why would I need to talk to you? I'll decide if I want to come to you and buy something, right? Which isn't good if you're a business trying to create engagement with a prospective client. So I started to get into, how do I use social? How do I use it as a salesperson, not marketing, to engage a client, to find them, identify them, and get a conversation open into the old world, converse, speak on the phone, or meet. And through that, realize that, well, a whole part of that is how people perceive you. And personal branding is others' perception of you. We all have a personal brand, whether you like it or not. It is your others' perception of you. And that isn't just on social media, although that is probably the one we'll talk about now, is the one that in business is the most prevalent. But personal brand is what's people's perception of you. Do they think you're good? Do they trust you? What do they think you're too big to deal with or too small for them? That is your personal brand, what you come across as. And in today's digital world, why it's more important than ever, think about the world we've just entered. How many of us are working from home? How many of us listening to the news, funny enough, this morning, how many businesses and big businesses are deciding to work, if not totally remote, partly remote? If you're remote, I would challenge something that how many of you have been on a video call with someone during this? I'm sure we all have at some point. We've all seen the different examples and screen images being shared. And you see their name on the screen, as I can see yours now, Thomas. And while I'm talking to you, I could quite easily spin up another window here, and you wouldn't really see me doing it. I've got 3 screens here. I could spin up another window, your LinkedIn profile, start having a day. Oh, who's this Jane that's on this group with us? And I can be checking you out. That's your personal brand I'm checking out, right? I'm not calling it that. I'm just checking you out as a human being. That wouldn't have happened in the normal world typically. It could, but often what would happen is you'd meet someone and you go to a meeting and they'd rush from another meeting and they didn't have time to quickly check you out. They were too busy. They come down to reception, pick you up. You go into a meeting room. There's 3 people you weren't expecting to meet. And you can't hang on a second while I just power this up and see what I think of you and what I can find out about you. And you can't do it. Now, a lot of this is happening remotely, where it's before we speak, we're sat in front of the computer anyway, a few minutes before, and often you're sat there 10 minutes before, 20, you're doing stuff anyway. You think, oh, I'm going to be on that call in a minute. Who's on the call? All right, let's just have a look at who they are. And you'll bring it up just beforehand. But as I said, you can do it during. So personal brand is more important than ever. Another context of that is if you're looking for a job, right, at some point in the whole sphere that we're in, or you're an employer listening who are seeking to hire people, do you not check them out and do they not check you out? And it isn't just about checking the company. If you look at all the, I see lots of surveys on LinkedIn about why people leave companies. Oh, it's not because of the company, it's because of their boss. Why do they? What attracted them to join a particular company? It was the culture, it was the people, not just the salary and other and locations. Now, pretty much a neutral one. So think about that. Think about that. If you're a candidate, do you not think they're going to check you out and check your profile out and see if you care about how you come across? Oh, I've given you my CV. Okay, first thing I do when I get a CV as a recruitment manager, and I've been doing it recently, and I always do this, is I want to know where their LinkedIn is. First time one of my salespeople says to me, I'm talking to X, Y, and they get excited. Oh, I've got this opportunity, and it sounds great, and they were interested. And I say, slow down, right, who are you talking to? Oh, Dave, and no, slow down. Hold on a second, because I want to look them up on LinkedIn. I want to see who the person is. I don't care about the company at this point. Who is the person you're speaking to? What I'm looking for is what do I know about that person? And maybe I'm connected to 20 people, 10 of which I know really, really well who know them. Great. There's context there. Or I had one a couple of days ago, looked them up. Guess what? They're in Southampton. Look up the company. That prompted me because I'm from Southampton originally. Oh, they're in Carlton Crescent. Great. My mate used to be a barrister there. So when I speak to them, there's a conversation straight away of warmth, not just great, let's do a demo. It's whereabouts are you in Carlton? Which building are you in? Why? Well, I lived in Southampton. Where are you living in Southampton? Where are you from? Oh, there's interaction. It's the human element. Your personal brand, whether it's what people are seeing of you in business or you as an individual in going for a job, is critical in today's world. And people say, well, no one's ever said something bad about it. No, they won't, because you won't get told. I tell people if I'm recruiting them and their profile really lets them down, part of the piece I give back is thanks so much for applying for the job and in the interview. One of the things that concerned me was that you don't seem to understand that representing yourself and the importance of it online. By the way, I also saw on your Facebook lots of drunk pictures that I've got access to. And people say, well, they shouldn't be looking. Well, you've made it public. Make it private to your friends, fine. You don't know what damage stuff does of a negative personal brand because most people never hear the bad stuff. It's done the damage, but it's outside your sphere of understanding or visibility. You never get the told. Long answer to a short question.
It's a good answer. I mean, if you're employing someone or you're considering doing business with someone, you're going to use whatever tools are available. And if you're spending a lot of time on LinkedIn, you're going to use that tool. So 100% agree.
Yeah, and here's the other mistake people make it for the business people listening to this is, well, we're not really worried about the personal brand of our individuals because it makes them more attractive to be poached. So we don't want them to look good on LinkedIn. Well, whatever that's going to happen is going to happen anyway, right? I've heard this before where it's, I don't want to coach my people to look better on their personal brand because it's theirs. Well, yes, it is, but it's a value while they're with your organization to support them because it is an interesting one. Great, you've got a LinkedIn profile for your company and you push content out on it. The content that an individual pushes out on LinkedIn is ranked higher and is more likely to get more engagement than your company because LinkedIn's algorithms work that way. They treat it as LinkedIn is a personal platform, not a business platform. It's the individual. It's centered around the individual. So if one of your individuals has got lots of great connections they've made during their career, and it's the old Rolodex thing, right? If you've got a Rolodex you can bring to us, well, if they've got lots of great connections that are relevant and they share content, those connections, your content appears in those feeds. Your company posting it, it will not be seen in those by those people unless they've chosen to follow your company. It's very unlikely they'll see it, or unless you go and pay for advertising on LinkedIn and target the audience. You've got free adverts from every employee, and every employee has got their own little personal brand. And who do we engage with? If you go and buy something from, pick a name, Vodafone, and you deal with someone in the shop, it's the person in the shop that you're dealing with, not Vodafone. Vodafone's not doing anything. It's if that person in the shop is a bad experience for you, oh my God, Vodafone today. But it wasn't Vodafone, right? It was Sally behind the counter who's had a bad day and treated you badly. But you name it as the brand, but it's the individual that affects it. That's what you've got to think about in today's world. People buy from people. People judge your brand based on the brand of the individual they're engaging with.
So what do you do in terms of activity for your team in relation to encouraging them around their reputation, their online reputation?
Sure. So there's some pretty easy things you can do, right? So the first one is get them to understand that you support them on LinkedIn. So here's a good context. I've got a new joiner starting next Monday. I've already taken his photo, and in 5 seconds on one website, a couple of clicks, taken off the background, literally load it, one click, it's done. Put another background on, which is a nice one of ours, and sent it back to him, and send him the banner to use on his profile. That's the easy stuff, right? But he's already got it ready, Monday to go. I've already sent him the text to use when he links to our company, what to put in there. I haven't left him to engineer it and try and figure it out and get it wrong. I've said, here is some stuff you can use that immediately sets you up as looking good for us. And then what I do is work with them on looking at their own profiles and coaching them on it. And that sends a message in itself that I am more than happy for you to look good on these platforms because it benefits us and it gives a good professional view to the customer. Right now, for example, I've got this nice backdrop on Zoom here, right? Which is, so even things like that, I've had those images done, I've provided them to the team. I help them as a leader to look good, to help tune their brand, right? That's the look and feel. Rather than just let them get on with it and actually I'm not, coach them, help them be consistent, help them be professional. And what our team's allowed to do, and if you go and look at any of my team, you'll see they post things on there. I've been an SDR in this team for 2 weeks and I've just learned this. They post conversational stuff that gets good engagement on LinkedIn. It's real, right? It's authentic. I'm not giving them stuff, so go and post this. They are taking it upon themselves, as long as you don't go any of the isms, right? You don't go political, don't go sexist, right? Anything like that, keep that away. But be you, be authentic, be you, and let them take part and comment on other people, engage in other people's content. We support them and coach them on how to do this. It's not rocket science, but a lot of people lose because they just stay away from. They either let them find their own way, and then poo-poo it when they do something they don't like. Well, you've let them go wild and haven't given them any guidance or support. And the second one is, or they do the corporate marketing police of, yeah, we don't want you touching anything. No, put on everything you do. This is my view and not representative of anything of the company, blah, blah, blah. But you've employed them. So what are you doing? Locking them in a cupboard? You have to trust people, right? But coach and train them to be able to do stuff in an appropriate manner. That's why otherwise, if you can't trust them in this style, even when you coach them, you've employed the wrong people.
So is that specific to LinkedIn that you do, or do you consider other social platforms?
Well, for the market that we're in, I do LinkedIn. Me personally, and more because I've become by accident a social influencer for a number of brands. I'm on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Zing, the German one, blah, blah, blah. So because I need to understand the platforms for a business, and that leads to I'll plant the question that I often get asked is, well, which platform should I be on? Two things here. One is a lot of businesses make a fundamental mistake of they are, as I am, but I've got a reason for doing it, a logical reason. They're on every platform. They're on every platform, and I ask when I see that, and people ask me for advice. Help me understand why you're on that platform, and that one, and that one, and that one, and give me a good reason. Oh, not because, and the reason isn't, well, because it's there, or because we wanted to tick the box. It should be because that's where that's where our audience is. So for us as a business at 1UP, our audience is on LinkedIn. We sell B2B, and an awful lot of our audience is recruitment leaders, recruitment company leaders. Well, they're on LinkedIn. So that is, and we're on Twitter, but that's where we focus our communication and profile. If you are a small business or a business, for example, doing designer furniture, I would, and you're selling to consumers, I would suggest you're probably not, LinkedIn's probably not the key platform for you. It's probably Instagram, because your product is very visual, and it's probably Facebook, maybe to draw people to your Instagram account. Where is your audience? Where are they most likely to expect to engage with your type of business? If you're a kids party clown for kids, you know, then it's going to be on Facebook and stuff. You're not going to get your customers on LinkedIn. So, and probably not Twitter, because your audience is more likely to be on Facebook. So it's pick the platform that is relevant to where your target audience is and do it well. Don't try and do them all. And what I invariably see is you do them all badly, because you're spreading yourself too thinly, and I've got to do that, and I've got to do this. And so what happens is the test for me, the litmus test for me is, if someone reaches out to you on a platform you have offered up on social where you're representing yourself, are you going to spot it quickly enough to respond in a timely fashion and be able to do it? Because I've contacted, as many people listening would have done, oh, got a complaint about something, I'll tweet, I'll DM this brand, and you never get a reply. So why offer it up? You've put yourself on the platform, and you've allowed me to send you a message or tag you in, but you've never replied. That's not my fault as the customer. You've spread yourself too thinly, that no one's monitoring or looking at what you get on there, so you don't care. So that I think is a couple of other bits of advice there on social, is pick where your audience is and then do it really well, and have your employees in that same sphere, and help and coach and support them to have a strong personal brand. As an individual, personal brand has massive value. I've fallen into this accidentally, as I mentioned. I am now an official influencer for 5 or 6 major global brands outside of my day job in the cloud technology sector, which is where I've got my expertise and thought leadership. And I get reach out all the time. Or could you do this? Could you speak at this event? Could you do this? Because my personal brand in the area that I'm in stands out, and it carries something for me. So it's paid dividends back. But I didn't target to do that, and it didn't come overnight, right? It's slowly. I appear on a podcast, and thank you kindly for taking me on here, or I take part in a speaking event. That gives me an extra bit of content that I share, and because my audience got big, other people see it, they ask. So it's definitely a domino, a snowball effect. The more you do, the more you take part, the more you will get back.
So is that the cause which produces the effect of becoming a quote unquote influencer is simply taking part on a long-term regular basis?
Well, it's how it happened for me. I'm not saying just by doing it you will become an influencer. There's too many kids there. I think their aspiration is, I want to be an influencer. Okay, well, a lot of the influencers we see, both in the consumer and the business space, didn't just appear overnight and say, I want to be an influencer, therefore, where do I sign up? Right now, I've got it. If you look at an awful lot of them across all the different sectors of types of influencer, there's so many stories of accidentally it happened. My daughter is into Roblox, for example, which is a very good business model. They're making a fortune, but there is an influencer on there. I now know by name, called Megan Plays, and it's like, crikey, and oh my gosh, she's so excited. Who is this woman? And what it turned out is, she used to be doing stuff on YouTube, didn't really have many followers, didn't get anywhere, and she just fell into Roblox and started to get followers. But she just did a few things, and she's taken off. Oh, okay, I'll focus on that. And she is now making a fortune, and is now one of the global influencers in gaming and stuff on Roblox, and is selling merchandise. And if you look at her little story, totally by accident, didn't set out to do it, just was quite, and just found a niche that worked. That's what happened to me. I suddenly got invited. Well, would you speak at an event on this? Yeah, that works. Someone else sees you because of the content. Oh, yeah, I see you speak at events. You don't do we couldn't do a blog, could you? Yeah. Now you write a blog, and you get a reputation of, I've now blogged for all these 6, 7, 8 major vendors. Guess what? The next one, you've got a calling card now. Yeah, we noticed you do a lot on social about this. Just wondered if, yeah, and here's my calling card. And I've got all that evidence. Oh, now you get used again. But it was by accident. I didn't engineer this for that reason. The reason I cared about this is because of my day job, engaging with prospective customers and looking professional. And when I've been looking for a job in my career, looking as professional and as differential and better than the next candidate. How do you stand out? And the beauty of social media is in the most, it's free. You can log onto the platform, you can create it, you can create some wonderful content, you can write a blog on something you're expert on, you can follow and connect with people, and it's just time. You know, you haven't got to go and it's not like a corporate marketing thing where you want to build a brand where, boy, is it going to cost you a lot of money. It's just invest in yourself, and it's your brand for the rest of your career. That's the other thing to consider. Goes with you.
Mm. Have you given any thought to the increase in, let's say, people are recognizing the benefits of doing this? What will be the outcome of many people all kind of spending time on their online reputation? How does that look in the future? And what I suppose is going to be differentiation when everyone is doing it?
Well, the thing here is, I would say not everyone's doing it, and you're not going to get everyone doing it. Not everyone's listening to this blog, right? Here's the thing I usually say is the people, if I run, well, it's a sales train, whatever I talk about, it's people that really need it are probably the ones that aren't listening. The ones that are listening care about stuff, want to learn and want to adapt and change to the world we're in and continue to improve. The ones that say, I never listen to podcasts, turn up at events, I think, because I know it all, they're the ones that probably need it the most. And I say, when I take out this skill set of salespeople, well, all salespeople are all as good as each other, right? They're not. I interview so many, I judge awards, and most salespeople, in my opinion, are quite average, right? And I always say to my salespeople, you only have to be a bit better in that horse race and win the photo finish, and you get first prize. You get the big prize. The second place, really? So it's not about being 50 times better. It's about that edge. But in reality, you'll probably be better than a lot. If you look at how many people are on each of these platforms and how many people look average, look through LinkedIn, scroll through your feed, scroll through the connections or the recommended connections, and how many stand out to you? And often the ones that stand out through the image itself as well are influencers, because there are I haven't got time to go through it now, but there are lots of simple tricks that cost no money that make you stand out and get people to look at your profile and go, whoa, I constantly get people, and I'm flattered, say, we looked at your profile before we met, we had this call about your business or podcast or whatever it is. Really impressed. I've never seen something so detailed. I nurture constantly, and I look at what others are doing, and I still get, oh, I like that, or I'll rephrase that, or I like the way they've done that. I'm constantly looking for, what can I do that stands out? An example being, if you ask me how to find how do you find me on LinkedIn? I'm going to say, go to ianmoyse.co.uk.
Redirect, yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, which costs hardly anything, right? It's I don't know, $6 a year or something to host a domain. And I've got my own domain. How much more professional does that look? Now, my name luckily is quite unique, but if I was Paul Smith and say, go and find me on LinkedIn, you're going to go, Paul Smith, oh, which one is it? And then you have to put the company. You've made the visitor, the audience, you put all the effort on them. So a simple thing like that, straight away, that's different than 50 other people, 1,000 other people you get. Oh, that's different. Like
I've seen I've had a guest on actually who did one for each social. So it was like his name followed by YouTube, his name followed by Facebook for each one of them.
Oh, I've done it slightly differently, interestingly. I've done, so I've got ianmoyse.cloud for my Twitter account, ianmoyse.uk for, I think it's my Facebook, ianmoyse.co.uk for LinkedIn, ianmoyse.com for Instagram. So I've done it, but I've done it in a slightly different way. and to give you context, I've also bought the domain for my daughter and my son, who are 9 and 6. so that when they get to that point, I've already got the domain in case someone else took it, because it costs hardly anything to get it. And right, they've got that ready for that. There's your 16th birthday present done, right?
Well, that is forward thinking, isn't it?
But the world we're in, that stuff, is it going to get like number plates and phone numbers, right, where you can't get what you want because you didn't think about it? So I've done it, and at the moment it just reroutes to me, but then at some point I'll reroute it and they can have their personalized email address, and it just, again, straight away when they're in the job market, doesn't that look more professional? Something coming from that rather than at Yahoo or at Hotmail, it'll look like, whoa, straight away out the gate, but it's still going to route back to whatever email they've got anyway. It's just a mask.
So you mentioned the employees kind of and your approach to LinkedIn, which I think is kind of cool. But can you tell me what's that? Is there any measurable results from doing that you can share?
Yeah, and this is the one where I think business leaders, it's like a bit like marketing, right? Marketing, sometimes there's intangibles that are hard to quantify and measure to the level that people want. Well, it's so ROI type thing. But in terms of, it's difficult to directly correlate it. That's the problem. It's the correlation. But there are study after study that show those who invoke what we call social selling, which personal branding is part of, is using social media to look good, but also to outreach in the appropriate way, to nurture, to comment, to get connections, to leverage all of this, constantly outperform those that don't. And there's numerous studies all around the industry around this. And we're starting to see now more and more companies investing in this. About 3, 4, 5 years ago, there was this whole, yeah, but not sure. Suddenly, I don't know if it's because of COVID, but certainly in the last couple of years, there is a lot more LinkedIn training going on, social selling training, more books coming out on this. Daniel Disney, a good friend of mine, has just released his second LinkedIn book, which is doing really well. Well, why is that happening if there's no audience for it and there's no purpose to it and it doesn't work? So it works, and one measure is, are your individuals getting new connections with the relevant contacts and audience? And that isn't just the customer; it's influences in your space. So, for example, I will connect with people that also are influencing the customer that I'm trying to target. Now, that might be a particular journalist, it might be a thought leader in that sector, an analyst. I want to nurture those relationships, because if we then get connected and we start to build rapport and I start to share their content, and it can be as simple as you start from liking their content, commenting and sharing, taking part, engaging. My perfect world is they invite me to connect. And I've had that so many times over the past 4 or 5 years where and it's authentically, right? I'm not just going through and liking every bit of content that's totally irrelevant, but if they're talking about sales engagement, or they're talking about customer experience, things that I'm involved with, and you've got genuine, authentic comment to add comment, and often you'll find they comment back, and I've had it the past couple of days with stuff, commented on that, and I've had the author of that comment back, Ian, great comment, I really agree with that point, what do you think about this? You start a conversation. I have had that happen over time, where those people then choose to follow me or send me an invite. So I'm connected in the sales arena to some of the biggest book authors and best-selling authors globally who invited me. I didn't just go connect, because I'm just one of everyone sending them that around the world. But because I nurtured and took part, and quite a few of them I've now met, because through that engagement, and they then chose to follow me, and then chose to like some of my content over time. And I remember one reaching out saying, Ian, it feels like I know you. I'm in the UK for this conference in a month. You're not going to this sales conference in London, are you? I said, yeah, I might be. Can you come and meet me for breakfast one morning? So I sat there with her, book author, nice photo together, blah, 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 and she's a global best-selling book author in the sales sphere. But it wasn't me going, I'm just Fred Bloggs here, can I come and have? It was a nurturing relationship. It's building rapport like you would do in the real world, slowly over social. Too many people on social jump to, I want a relationship. Right. Well, it doesn't work that way, right? You've got to put your rapport tokens in your piggy bank. And when you've got enough of them, you can draw out the relationship, right? You don't draw out 50 quid from the piggy bank when you only put 10 pence in. That's the analogy of what people try and do on social.
Well, originally, I think social media was supposed to be designed as a relationship building tool. So it's interesting that, yeah, it's a nice analogy regarding trying to get something immediately out of it. But on the topic of connections, which you touched upon, do you ever guide your employees on who they should and shouldn't connect with? Is it like, do you encourage them to connect with your customers, for example?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I've got a little program when my new marketing manager joins in 2 weeks, where one of the little tasks they will get is go through, and most people haven't done this, so that we haven't, right? I inherited this in the business. Go through all our customers, and from the company view, the organization profile on LinkedIn, go and invite them all to follow us. Because the button's there, right? You just have to go into the list on your company profile. And I've done that with a few that I'm talking to as I go, and as new customers are signing with us. But go through methodically all of the customers we've got and see if they're not followers, or go and ask them to, because they're not seeing any content we share automatically by not following us. Therefore, there's less likelihood they'll engage in it. But if we share good content or a good article on LinkedIn, our own customers, because they're familiar with us and have a relationship, are more likely to take a look at it and comment and share it, but only if they see it. So unless we're currently posting it and then tagging in every single one of them manually, well, that's a bit of an effort. So little things you can do like that that people miss. And what I encourage my team to do, to answer your question, is yeah, absolutely. But what I say to them is, don't just blatantly go out and so I've just done a call just now. Okay, so just before this, prospective client, couple of people, we built some rapport over about an hour together. At that point, I'm doing a follow-up. Yeah, we really like it, Ian. We want to do this. Great. At that point, it feels really comfortable to send them an invite to connect. Really enjoyed the conversation. Love to have a connection here as well. So it's great to wait just till you've got the interaction and then invite, not invite blindly and then come back later and try and do it the other way, right? Build a bit of rapport, and then yeah, we just had a chat. LinkedIn's view, of course, we'll hear is only connect with people you know. You know where I'm going. I can see the smile, incredibly well. Well, yeah, that's great for your view, but you know, it's what define incredibly well. What we should all only have 20 connections then, because how many people do you know in the business world incredibly well? I've got people I've got a business relationship with I've known for years, but have they ever been around my house and for barbecue? No. Where do you draw the line? So I get what they're saying, but there is a value in having a lot of connections. People joked with me years ago. I remember working with people, and they said, "Oh, Ian, you've got like 2,500 connections on LinkedIn." Well, oh my gosh, I've now got something like 36,000. People go, well, here's the benefit. I can see virtually every LinkedIn profile. It's very rare I get one that's outside my network and I can't get details on. So there is a benefit in having connections, and the more wisely you connect, the more, if you connect with people now as you're doing this, in 3, 4, 5 years time, very likely you're still connected with them. Very few disconnect people because it's not easy to do. You have to manually go through, and who knows where they're going to turn up. I have now where I encourage my team, have a look at someone and make sure you're connected with me, obviously. And now you'll see, if you look at their profile, oh, Ian's connected with them. Ask me every time, how are you connected? Oh, I don't know, let me have a look. Oh, we connected 11 years ago. Where were they working then? I remember. Great. Now, it's not we've got a relationship, but there's definitely some rapport I can leverage on. Dave, remember when crikey, one of my team just nudged me. Remember when we met in such and such? I just wonder if we'd have another conversation. Better than cold, right? But it's not a cold call.
Definitely.
So you're building what you do now in this and adding connections. Again, it goes with you. What I did 10 years ago that I didn't know what the outcome would be, and people I connected with or met, is still in there now as nuggets of value that I can pull out upon.
So one thing I wanted to ask you on about rather, and it was in relation to sort of activities as someone who's, active on social, you did a 60-second pitch. What's the story behind the 60-second pitch?
Oh, that you picked out that one, crikey. So that was, yeah. So one of the things I always look for, and I learned many years ago, is to volunteer for things, put yourself out there. And that was one that was there. They were looking, it was one of the magazines, and they were doing this 60-second pitch thing where you go into a room as a technology vendor and you have 60 seconds with a panel of experts. And one of them was the CIO of British Airways at the time. I'm trying to remember the other two were, but senior people. And you got 60 seconds on video, production, little mini production studio type thing, so nicely done. And then they will ask you questions, and then you get the thumbs up, thumbs down judging sort of thing. And okay, so what harm can that do unless you do it badly? But it's a good profile piece. You get to meet 3 senior people, so I'm still connected to that individual, or 3 individuals, very senior people. Great, because I met them, I just spent time with them, right? We had a bit of fun before and go, well, be gentle on me, here we go, right when we started. So doing that, or speaking events, etc. Had I done it like that before, 60 seconds, and they stopped it on the second, and I stopped on the second, you may have noticed, because I practiced. I didn't just turn up and wing it. I practiced, and I'm going to nail this, the wording, the timing, to do the best job I could. But that's now an asset that is on there that you've spotted. And I do the same on things like this volunteering for podcasts, volunteer for webinars, take part. If you've got experience that you can share, give something back. And often I hear, well, I'm too busy. Well, yeah, but by giving back, you don't know what other opportunity will beget you. The more you're out there, seen as professional, as how do you become a thought leader? Well, you contribute, take part. I've been paid to host roundtables of CIOs of businesses because they've seen me speak and said, well, would you do this? Yeah, I can do that. And guess what? That's another company paying me to host a roundtable, and I'm there with about 7, 8, 9 CIOs of businesses. And I'm not there to sell my stuff or do anything like that. But guess what? You build some rapport during that session. And afterwards, they'll all connect with you because you just spent an afternoon together. And I've had conversations follow on from that leading to business where I've reached out and gone, yeah, let's have a coffee. So there's so many things you can do if you choose to. The world is your oyster, so to speak, with social. Build your personal brand, look credible, contribute, write a blog, put yourself out there, but don't expect to get immediate value back. Don't expect the floodgates to open. It takes time, but as soon as it starts happening, it gets a little bit addictive, to be honest, because you can contribute, and I see the value now in doing this, in contributing and doing this, and I've been up middle of the night for Australian podcasts or panels, because actually you don't know who's going to see it, you don't know who's going to engage or what opportunity it's going to bring. But if you only do it because you know exactly the gratification you're getting immediately, you never do anything. You only do your day job and what you get paid for. If you're not paying me to do it, I'm not doing it. Then you won't. Don't forget this. Don't expect the stuff to come back to you. You create your own luck, and this is part of the way of doing it. And the beautiful world that we live in gives you that opportunity to reach the globe and to create opportunities you didn't expect.
For someone who is, let's say, not doing anything on their online reputation, how long would you say it would take them?
Oh, that's the $1 million question, right? So firstly, it's not about taking a week off and doing that. This is something you nurture, and it's lots of small pieces of effort. So for example, I'll quite often do stuff and I'll be sat here watching the TV, and you can have your laptop there and you can spend an hour. It's not rocket science and complex stuff where you need to be blinkered away in a pivot table and a spreadsheet. Right? It's pretty simplistic stuff. And number one hint I'd give is plagiarize. Look at what other people do and borrow the ideas, because there's not copyright. Go and have a look at my profile. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm constantly tuning and coming up with ideas, but have a look at how I've structured and where I put images and how I make it more interesting. and also how you do the content. I constantly hone and find tricks of how to do this. And I've started now, I'm in a position where I do write blogs that get published, and often I'll write a blog because something's happened. I think there's a story about customer experience I've just had. Right, write a blog on it. It could be 400 words. Write something, put that content out there. People will comment, and it gets you in the practice of doing it. But you've got to start somewhere. Don't see it as the mountain that you've got to jump straight to the top of Everest. Think you've got to start. You want to get to the top, so you take a few steps, and tomorrow you take a few more steps. It's spread out, but it's constant small nurturing. You bought a plant, water it. Too many people buy the plant linked, on social. They create their profile, and then they don't touch it for 5 years. And the number of profiles I look at where okay, let's see what their contact details are, and the links they've got are a company they worked for 5 years ago. So you're linking back to your old company. Well, that takes 2 minutes to change. That says to me, you don't even know it's in there, or you're not really adept at this stuff.
Yeah, I think more and more people are valuing it. So I think more and more people, 100% on the same page as you. So as you say, I think it's the slight edge. And I mean, how many people, I don't know whether you have this type of data or whether it's just anecdotal, but how many people do you think are, doing the same thing as you are?
I would, and it's going to be a bit of an estimate of stuff I read, but I would say in terms of doing it really, really properly and caring and getting it, it's a very low percent. And even if I go borderline, it's 5% maybe. It's low percentage, just because of the volume of people that are on these platforms, right? So if even if, to your point, well, what if loads of people start doing it? Well, guess what? What if we end up with 10% of people really doing a good job of it? Well, do you want to be in the 10% that stand out? Do you want to be in the top 10, or do you want to be in the bottom 90? It doesn't take much to do it. It doesn't take cash. You don't have to go and spend. It's all in your control. Tricks I do, if I give one tip and trick, if people look at it and go, well, how do I do some of this stuff? Go and look at a site such as Fiverr or 5 Squid. If you want to get nice images done, or you want to get your profile picture and done edited, and you're not au fait with graphics programs, I do a lot of stuff on there for social. So I'll go on there, and let's say you'll see some images. If you look on my social feed, you'll see some good animated videos and things such as this. And they start at £5. It's a gig economy. It's like the eBay for people with skills. I don't know Photoshop, but if I want to get something really neat done for a blog I've written, it's quite easy to go on there, have a quick look around, and then place an order. And for £5, guess what comes back? Usually within a day or two, someone's done all the work for me somewhere around the world. Some graphic designer in their bedroom who's earning their own money off this site has done it for me, and thank you very much. And I've got tons of content I share that's been created on that platform deeply. So it's like your outsourced marketing department, but very affordable even for you as an individual, let alone a business.
Interesting. And how long would you say you've been doing it in terms of doing it well?
Probably, if I said where it really tipped the balance, probably the last 3 or 4 years, when I started to realize the impact and started to take real care. Before I was just doing what I thought was right and putting the effort in. At that point, I started then looking at actually reading blogs and looking at content that people put out, looking at what other people do, and going, why didn't I do that before? Why haven't I been using that part of the platform? It's sat there for me to use. So if you look at my profile now, you'll see against each of my job roles, there will be, whether it be awards or where I spoke at an event, the videos attached. It's making it richer. And some of it is the platforms have developed to allow you to do more things on them now that you couldn't do 7 or 8 years ago. So it's making use of the capability that the platforms allow you to do, whether that be Instagram, social, they're all honing themselves. Instagram stories wasn't there originally, for example. So there's lots of things you can do. It's making use of those. And I'm still looking today, right? There's still bits on the platforms I've got on my list too. I haven't really figured out how you use that as best, but I haven't had time to look at it yet. But I want to be using them to the maximum for what I need them for, to shine, to look the best you can, which attracts more connections, more people too. And I've had 5 or 6 connection invites today because And I think because, by their phrasing, I went on a LinkedIn Live, someone was talking yesterday, and I took part, right? And I posted a comment and a question that came up on the screen. I then took a screen grab, repurposing content of that with my comment on it, and then reshared it on LinkedIn afterwards, copying it, tagging in the people who were running it. Guess what? They shared and commented on it, then other people did. And suddenly I've had quite a few connections this morning from people in the arena of that event, which was to do around content marketing. Oh, it'd be great to connect. Some of them said, be great. So I saw you on the thing yesterday and your comment really good. Can I connect? So I'm making new connections at senior level through commenting on someone else's content at someone else's event.
Have you got any thoughts on getting on new social platforms early?
Yeah, I do it because of what I'm in, right? So there's a new one called Thrive, I think it's FRIVE. There's so many popping up that purport to be, we're going to be the next Facebook or whatever, and you never know. Nothing's appeared yet that's suddenly taken. TikTok came out, right? And I'm on TikTok more so I can just understand the platform. My daughter is very keen to be on TikTok, but we're not letting her because of the age. But my friends are on there. It's not for this sort of stuff. But so I tend to go on the newer platforms as they appear so that I can understand them and just create professionalism and profile, but I focus on the ones that are relevant to us. But I haven't seen anything come out yet that I would say, my gosh, that's the one that's going to storm the world. We've got some of the audio and video ones that are that are appearing that are disrupting a little bit of people's thought of, are more people going to go on here now? Like LinkedIn Live appeared not so long ago, which I've got an account for, and I'll get around to trying at some point. So they're all trying to develop even the existing platforms to repurpose themselves to the way people are behaving now. But who would have said TikTok was going to go where it went when it first appeared? For you can only do this very short video, like a Twitter version of YouTube. Really? And look at how explosive that has been.
Well, so, everyone seems to be talking about Clubhouse at the moment.
Yeah, that's the one that everyone seems to be. Is it a fad? Is it because we're all remote? And I've been on a couple of the sessions on there, and I don't know. I'm not going to purport just because I'm part of it to. I'd love to. Which one do you put your live stock in if you can? I don't. There are so many, and Clubhouse is the one that's, you're absolutely right, that's being talked about. Where's it going to end up? My guess would be if it gets momentum, is one of the big boys will buy it. We'll see Facebook. Someone will just step in and go, we'll have that as part of our portfolio, and that'll be that. That's where I expect it will go. If you come up with something good in social that the big boys haven't done, they won't. Why would they replicate it? They'll just buy it in.
Interesting. Can you share what your goals are at the moment?
Yeah, my goals at the moment are to drive the growth of the business that I am in. I'm responsible for sales and marketing, so which is a good piece because it helps me bridge what we've been talking about. Because often the challenges for businesses I find are this whole social world and personal brand and social selling and has blurred sales and marketing. Because typically and traditionally that would have been in the remit of marketing. But now you've got individuals doing stuff and content and contribution. And I witnessed, and I've been at events before COVID talking about this and listening to people, the debates around marketing police. Well, yeah, we don't let the people do that. That's marketing stuff. So you've got 50 salespeople there, or 10 salespeople there, or 3, whatever, and you've just put a ball and chain around their ankle of, yeah, don't get involved. We don't want you leveraging this to the best. We're going to slow you down, because that's the way the world used to be, and that's marketing's domain. And then on the flip side, you've got people who, I'm lucky to own both, where no, this is an overall thing, right? There's marketing, corporate brand, great. There's a job there to drive leads, people to your website, partnership marketing, alliance, all that stuff, and creating content out from the company. But then you've got these individuals that you should coach and nurture, but they don't work for marketing. Well, I bridge both, so I solved that problem. But too often, that's why we hear often about sales and marketing you know, the knuckles together of not quite aligning, and that's my remit, that's my remit. Well, they shouldn't do that. Well, it's get rid of that and just get on with what engages the customer to engage with you, to drive leads, to drive business. And that's where my focus is today. I'm putting in place, and half the team's in place. I'm waiting for a couple of people to join. I've put a whole sales and marketing team in place, and now it's to drive the engine and coach them and provide them the tools to execute on that in the way that the new world demands.
Okay. You mentioned social selling in your answer, because selling is quite a, I don't know, for whatever reason, people have their subjective opinions on what selling is. What is social selling?
Yeah, good questions. And the name itself is a misnomer, but that's what the industry has monikered it. So social selling should be called, in my opinion, using social media as a way to engage with prospective clients and and gain conversations. Right? People think, and I talked about social, oh, we couldn't do so, our product wouldn't sell over social. That's not what it's about at all. It's not about taking orders or putting something up on Instagram, which takes them to a page and they buy a gadget or the latest t-shirt or whatever it is. It's about, if my audience is on social and I want to have a conversation with them, and depending on your product, that conversation might be electronic, right? It might be something where you bring them to your website and you take them through a journey, traditional marketing, to the point where they want to engage and buy something electronically and automated, great. Or it could be in B2B, something where actually I want to have a conversation with you. I want to talk to you as the head of marketing or the head of HR or the CIO, whatever my product or service is. But if you can pick the phone up, do it. If you can pick the phone up and get a conversation like the old world, do it. But too often I hear, well, yeah, we just can't, a lot of people we can't get hold of. Okay, so what do you do alternatively? You just keep calling? Well, your alternate is you can use social selling. And social selling is, for example, if I want to engage with a business and I want to talk to the sales leader there, and we've had no contact or way of doing it, it's not happening. Like the shortcut doesn't work. Rather than give up, why would I not, for example, if we're creating a blog, perhaps I could reach out to them and we publish the blog and I tag them in. I tag them in with 3 or 4 other people, peers of theirs, maybe people they're even connected with, or I'm connected with, and we welcome your opinion on this as other valued sales leaders. What if they then comment? I don't reach out and suddenly sell to them. I might comment back or like their post and go, great point, but what about? It's authentic conversation. What you're looking to do is get engagement through to a point at which it is comfortable to connect and comfortable to speak. And it works. It's proven to work. I've done it. When I present privately, I cite real examples with screenshots, but to protect the innocent, I wouldn't use names on here, but real examples where not only have I followed that process with major brands, CIOs, and there's one particular one, a major household brand, that CIO, I remember reaching back to me and commenting on things and engaging a little bit. And then I smiled on the day when, oh, hang on a minute, LinkedIn invite. They've invited me to connect. They've invited me to connect with them. Not I've forced the issue and I want to sell to you. And it took about 6 weeks maybe, but I wasn't getting to them anyway, because everyone's trying to get hold of that senior person and everyone's doing the same route of just hammering phones and emails and they're just blanking it all. So I came in through the side window and I did it slowly. What happened is, if you think real world, I walked past their side window every day and I just waved with a nice smile. No agenda. Hi, morning. So at some point where it's like, oh my gosh, have you seen that jam down there? It turned out a conversation through the window. They talk to me because it feels familiar. They don't really know me, right? So a little bit more where, oh my gosh, I see you every morning. What would you do? It's like a coffee event. I always analogy the real world. If you go to an event, a conference, real world, pre-COVID, post-COVID, and you're getting coffee at the machine, you're all there for some conference, and someone stood next to you getting coffee, you don't turn to them and go, hi, my name's Ian, I'm from such and I'm from One Up Sales, and this is what we do, and I wondered if I could sell it to you. They're going to walk off like blanking you and avoid you the rest of the day. What do you do? You say, oh my gosh, you didn't come in. How did you get here this morning? I'm a nightmare getting in here. Oh, mine was all right. Why? Oh, the train. Oh, I didn't. I drove. Oh, okay. You have a bit of chit chat, bit of warm gentle stuff, right?
Mm.
You may not even say where you're from. You say, what are you looking forward to today? Oh, I'm going to do this session, this session. Oh, okay. Guess what? You bump into them a bit later. So social, you bump into them a bit later, and it's, oh, how you doing? How'd you find this morning? Oh, great. Bit chat. Might get a sandwich. Oh, I'm going to get one of those. Okay. You nurture, right? And at some point during the day, I invariably say, if that's happened a few times, they'll go, oh, God, I'm really enjoying today. It's a long day there. Hey, what do you do? They've just sent you the invite to connect, right? What do you do? Oh, well, we help transform the productivity of businesses, sales teams, to enable them to get greater outcomes of sales. Really? How do you do that? The conversation started now, but it's naturally progressed into it. That's how you need to behave on. That's what social selling is about. It's doing the same behavior on social. And if you do it right, what happens is you get you get that level of connection to the point where you go, what you, I'm in London next week. I noticed you're in London. You're not around for a coffee, are you? Or wondered if you'd be open to a phone call. We've followed each other. We keep bumping into each other. We'll be open to a 15-minute chat to see if there's any more connection between us. Oh yeah, feels like you know each other now, right? But you've never met. That's what social selling is. It's using social platform to create a real world conversation. Once you get the real world conversation, social selling has done its job and got you to the table of the conversation you wanted in the first place. Doesn't replace selling techniques or cold calling. It complements it where it's not working. You do it
Great
in parallel.
explanation. So, Ian Moyse, where is the best place for people to find you?
Well, that's the easy one, right? Because I referenced it earlier by accident. So thank you for that. It's ianmoyse.co.uk will take you to my LinkedIn profile, and ianmoyse.cloud will take you to my Twitter profile, both of which are places I share hopefully insightful and thought leadership content on cloud computing, sales leadership, and things such as personal branding and social selling.
Well, thank you very much for all the value you provided today.
You're more than welcome. Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you.